Welcome back to another live session. As always, excited to be here. Wow, there's just tons and tons of information to uncover today, and as always, we are going to get to all the questions today as well. So we're going to just do a really simple kickoff here. I think we can get into the weeds pretty quickly. Some data has come through. Actually, quite a bit of data has come through over the last week. So some of that information I just want to go ahead and share with you right off the bat. I'm just going to quickly pitch everything really super quickly. If you've never been here before, my name is Jeff H. Sipe. My business is practiceinterviews.com. We do one-on-one interview coaching, one-on-one negotiation coaching. Today, we've seen some really good success from the course, and I will mention this a few times. If you utilize the coupon code COOL, COOL today, just until 11:59 Pacific time today, $100 discount on the course, and that course is creating a lot of success in these interviews. So we're really excited about it. Obviously, we have the Slack group. We have 9 free resources on the website that you can utilize. I go live every week at 10 a.m. Pacific time and new content videos every other week. So let's dive in. I actually got 2 very interesting data points from an inside resource at Google this week. And then the Slack community updated us with some other updates that were pretty interesting. So number one is that a lot of TVCs at Google, specifically, their jobs are not going to continue. So when their contract is up, they will not be extended. This is one way that Google can eliminate headcount. So for those who are in TVC roles, if you're here on the live session in a TVC role, I really want you to push to speak with your current managers across other teams, see what the likelihood of getting in front of these limited open roles is, because apparently there's going to be a huge push. I've also been told that no TVC recruiters contracts will be extended. I can't obviously say for sure because there's always nuances. There's always a needs basis depending on the team, but that's the feedback I got. UX. We've heard in India that UX roles will not be hired below level 5 for the rest of this year. That's another data point. We're hearing that GCP is getting through prioritization, and they are on a case-by-case basis. So for instance, I do have a customer engineer that is moving forward to the offer stage, but I have other customer engineers, architects that are still sitting and waiting, or their roles have been deprioritized. Again, the case-by-case basis is something I really want to emphasize and push, because there is no blanket for anything. If there's a true need within a team, obviously they're going to hire for it. I also heard that there's a new rubric for scoring candidates for SWEs and for program managers, which is there's the normal rubric of like strong hire, lean hire, et cetera at Google. But now they're building in additional rubrics that are going to flag outstanding categories. Why is this important? Why does the audience care about this? If you get enough outstanding flags, they're not going to just skip HC and take you through. It's an opportunity with enough outstanding flags to potentially get up leveled. So really interesting. I hadn't heard of that before. I didn't even know that was going on. So I have my inside sources. Sometimes I reach out. Sometimes they're very proactive with telling me things. There's definitely been some other role updates, and we'll kind of go through that as we go through the session today. So we're going to dive right into questions. So if you've never been here before, I cover all the questions. I cover them in order. So some people know that coming in. So I'll always start from the beginning. No need to double up on questions. I will cover everything. Usually once a session, I'm told that I don't cover a question, and then I usually have covered that question. So it's okay if you have to pop in and pop out. These sessions right after the live will be available, and I'm a little behind on the timestamps, but I have somebody helping me do the timestamps on all these lives. So if you're going back over the last 2 or 3 months, those will have timestamps all on them soon, so you can identify specific questions that you're looking to get answered that are not happening during these live sessions. Okay, that's a really big intro for me, a lot longer than normal. So let's dive into business. Again, I'm going to get to all the questions. Lastly, the one other thing I want you to keep in mind. We're a positive community, so keep it positive. I'll flag and block people if it's not positive. That rarely happens. Let's do it. Let's dive in. Okay, so let's start with this first question. Hey, thanks for all the live sessions and Slack community. Both are great. Quick question. Have any of your clients for Gtech like TAM or CE receiving offers? Yeah, the prioritization is essentially over. So I have seen both TAMs and CEs getting offers, but it's a limited number. The one piece of inside data I've seen for TAMs, especially at Google, is that there is some prioritization, that they're a little lean on TAMs. Piece of data. I can't say whether it's true or not, but that's the piece of data I have. My recruiter called me to inform me that you passed all your interviews and that he's sending your packet to HC. Okay, Ian, awesome news. It's nice to see some of these positions moving forward. And again, for the community, this is just a positive feel to know that some things are happening. Oh, and you have a second comment here. I'll scroll ahead to these comments. Your recruiter called, okay, and he's sending packet. In the meantime, he asked me to send salary expectations. Okay, I have another offer from Microsoft and I would like to use that as leverage. Do you think it's better to give him my salary expectation and justify it by saying I have a Microsoft offer? Or should I give him my expectations, wait for his counteroffer, then negotiate higher by mentioning that you have an offer from Microsoft? Okay, so no numbers in writing. I actually want you to leave that blank, put 0, etc. We're not ready to negotiate yet because our level has not been confirmed by HC, and therefore we don't know what we're going to earn. Right? So hold off on that. We also don't know if the Microsoft offer is going to help us yet. Sometimes when we present competing offers and they're less, it's just Google's opportunity to say, look, we're paying better than Microsoft, accept this offer. So no data right now. You're actually going to give them nothing, 0. If they're like, what's going on there? And just say, look, I'm just waiting to confirm level before we discuss salary expectations. I really need it beforehand. They don't. They can move forward without that. And this is my recommendation to everybody. So keep us updated, keep coming back, let us know what questions you have, and obviously bring any questions into the Slack community as well. And obviously I'm here to help with negotiation if you need it. Update about a guy living in Poland who can't get interviews in the US. I passed interviews for a SWE-L3 Google US in May, and since then you've been in the team matching phase. After the hiring freeze, I lost hope and started interviewing with companies in the UK. In the meantime, you had one team matching 4 weeks ago. 1 week ago, the team in HC accepted me, and Google extended me an offer. I'm moving from Poland to San Diego in November. Wow, can't believe this is happening. Awesome. I mean, again, and this is a rare case, right? We are not seeing. Sorry, I'm so snotty today. We are not seeing a lot of L3s get hired, and that's on a needs basis. My best guess, if you're coming to San Diego, is maybe this is a role related to Fitbit, because that's kind of the bigger office here in San Diego. I'm obviously a big fan of San Diego as I live here now, and obviously love this city. Quality of life is really high. It's expensive, but the quality of life is fantastic. So you're going to enjoy it. Congrats. Thanks so much for coming back and letting us know. Hey, Jeff, thanks for all the content. I got word that the position I interviewed for was prioritized, and you're in the team match phase. Okay. Ooh, we lost. Looks like we lost one of these 3. Let's see if we can figure this out from the third one. How do I account for Nashville since there isn't a Google campus there? Do I just adjust for a cost of living or another metric? So what you're looking for is you're looking for like cost of living cities where they hire a little bit more. I think Chicago is actually, they say Chicago's more expensive. I think Nashville is getting to closer to on par because of Nashville's popularity over the last like 3 to 5 years, 10 years maybe. Atlanta's probably a good market. So look for some like markets. Then obviously if there's not a lot of data on your specific position, we're going to look at the software engineers, what they're getting paid in that market, and times at a percentage. Most percentages are 70%, but if it's another engineering role, maybe it's 80%. Product obviously is paying closer to SWE, etc. But yeah, definitely use like markets. When there's like no data for our market, look at similar cost of living cities, and that will really help. And obviously use levels.fyi for that research. Heard prioritization is over and team is currently doing headcount. What exactly headcount in this prospect? Limited. That's all I can answer. That's the only way I can answer this question. It's going to be really limited. And I think what Okay, so let's talk about the economy. We always have to get into this because this is where we're at, right? So it's going to be extremely limited for the rest of this year. There is going to be a carryover effect, probably for the next for the Q1 and Q2 of next year. Also, probably going to be limited, and then we're just going to have to see how things play out over the next 9 months to kind of determine the following 9 months. This could be an 18-month lag. They might start hiring like crazy early next year, but a lot of that's going to be based on economic conditions. But I think we just have to anticipate a slowdown. But the prioritization for the rest of this year is going to be slow, limited amounts of positions. Interviewed with one of the FAANGs, and I was asked how many languages do you speak, and you mentioned one. However, the recruiter wanted to know if I speak Spanish, and I said only basic. Do you think this priority will be given with those with more than one language? So when we get questions like that, the number one question that we're probably not utilizing in all aspects of our life is the why question. Why are you asking? Am I going to be working in a global team that's looking for me to have that Spanish language skill set? We want to ask why they're asking that question. It's a very fair question, because if in the job description it doesn't provide or ask or say Spanish preferred, we got to ask them why. Okay, so I would really want to determine why, but it sounds like they're interested in having that skill for that role. What should be the anchor for a cloud solution consultant as a percentage of SWE for same level? 70%, maybe 75%. Is it possible to negotiate level after the interviews are done, or just compensation with level? After the interviews are done, if you feel like you're not at the level appropriate, ask your recruiter simply, is there an opportunity to up level? Yes or no. They're going to tell you, and usually if there is, it's 1 to 2 additional interviews. You can always ask. Typically, they'll be introducing that data point, but always ask. Hi, thanks for being here. Secured 110K in equity, 15% bonus for an L3 technical writer role. Start date is the end of October. Is this low for L3? 120, 110, 15. I mean, no, this doesn't sound low for a tech writer. I want to know where, but this doesn't sound low. This sounds about right. David, come back and let us know where. Hey, Jeff, I just talked to my recruiter this past Wednesday, and he informed me that the team I was interviewing with had no positions prioritized in the role I was interviewing for this year. Okay. He told me that there are a list of prioritized roles within GCP, and we're scheduled to meet Friday to review if there are any potential fits. My feedback from the on-site interviews was extremely positive. What are the chances of finding a new team and the team I'm interviewing with had no roles approved? A bad sign for that team's future. Okay, so the percentages really just, I can't do it. I just can't tell you. Unfortunately, I have no idea. With really strong feedback across the board, if that's truly the case, your percentages go up. But what that percent is, I can't tell you. Does it bode poorly for them for the future? Absolutely not. Lots of teams that are being super successful are being asked to take a leaner approach. So no, that's not really anything about the team per se. Okay, I hope that helps. To diffuse some fears mentioned in the Slack group, as a recruiter, have you ever rescinded an offer? Once. One time I rescinded an offer, and let's talk about it. We had not actually gotten to that official stage. I've mentioned this multiple times, but of course there's always breaks between mentioning this. One candidate, I went on vacation. This candidate had been, their communication, they had been a little bit abrupt, a little abrasive, but it was okay. I went on vacation and my manager, my lead, took over, and I saw the communications between the two of them, and it was unacceptable. The way that this candidate treated my lead, it wasn't acceptable, and I thought it was going to show up poorly for this team, for the organization. So I went to my lead, I went to my lead's lead, and I went to the hiring manager, and I said, I don't think that we should move forward with this candidate because I don't think that they exemplify what we're looking for at Google. They agreed with me, and then I had to call this candidate and tell them that that was the decision that I made, and that I personally made it, and that they were learning a huge lesson that treating people with kindness and respect is very, very critical. So I did it once. So if that shows you the likelihood that it will happen, it's very unlikely. And if you do everything with graciousness and kindness, the likelihood is pretty much 0%. Okay. I hope that story helps. Good question. Are we optimistic about jobs in the legal department opening up again in 2023? Q1 was a finalist before the hiring freeze and the role was eliminated. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like my optimism, I'm trying to be cautiously optimistic about all of this just based on the current economic trends and what all the leadership is saying. Legal's a critical role. It's just kind of like we can think about this like with people moving jobs, kind of like with the housing market and all these things. Like are people going to leave right now? And the answer is we don't know. So if people aren't leaving legal roles, maybe they're being asked to take on more. A lot of people who join legal in a technology company are looking for more balance. So asking them to take on more might not be a great strategy. I really don't know. We're just going to have to keep a pulse on all of it. Sorry, I know that's not a great answer. Do you happen to have any insight on WSE versus SWE roles? Differences such as wages, compensation, technical growth, ease of moving around. Location would be DC or New York with either L3 or L4. So WSE, for those people who are not familiar, this is a web solutions engineer versus a software engineer. The only reason why I know what a WSE is because I used to hire them in my last year at Google. WSEs will absolutely get paid much less than software engineers, probably 70%, maybe 75% of what an engineer is making. So that's something to keep in mind. And the wages will definitely be pretty different, DC to New York. New York's absolutely going to pay better. The cost of labor in DC is low, even though the cost of living is high. Former TVC sourcer, any tips for maximizing time away from G in order to increase coming back in the future? Leverage Google, right? Like leverage Google to get other opportunities at elite companies. Usually that will truly open doors. Make sure that you're not relying just solely on Google and that you're relying on building your interview skills. And I mean, I think I'm telling a lot of personal stories today, but I mean, in 2016, I think, I went and interviewed, and in 2016, I went and interviewed at Facebook and Netflix. I didn't get either job. And I was always a really good interviewer, but I was cocky. I didn't prepare. I went in, like, I remember even at Netflix, like, I didn't even shave. I was just a mess. Like, I just thought I could roll in there because I had been working at Google. So I know it's kind of a weird way to correlate it, but I would just say really put in the prep and practice, but utilize the Google brand to open doors at other companies. And then at those other companies, take on as much as you can to continue to grow your skill set. Finally heard back from your RC and we're chatting about updates this week. It's really okay. So, okay, for a CE role, okay. My question, between finishing my interviews and now I got a promotion with a pay bump at my current job, is this something I can leverage if I get an offer from Google? So the answer is yes and no. There was a court case in Massachusetts. I've tried to find it. I can't find it. Okay, I've tried to Google this, but there was a court case in Massachusetts like in the last 2 or 3 years that basically doesn't allow companies to look at current compensation numbers in certain states and certain countries and consider that. Is that totally absurd and ridiculous? Absolutely it is. Like, considering current comp is very important. Why does a competing offer matter, but current comp doesn't? So here's what happens. They'll tell you, hey, we don't take current comp into consideration. But if I got into that conversation with the recruiter and they're like, yeah, we don't take current comp into consideration, my response would be, I do. I can't tell you not to take what you're currently earning into consideration, and it's an empathy in your shoes moment. I do. So like that allows you to push back, but actually presenting those numbers, no. Completed all rounds of on-sites last week. How much time recruiter takes to reach out to a candidate, PGM role, India? Is it wise to ask the recruiter about feedback? 5 business days. 5 business days is always the key. If you've not heard back in 5 business days, got to follow up with them. Okay. Okay, so I think we covered that one. So Zach, I think we came back here. So I'm going to skip that. Hey Jeff, I'm back. The recruiter mentioned that the level is L4 for TAM, GCP, team match already done. I know the Microsoft offer will help because it's based in Dublin, so better overall numbers. Okay. I mean, just look, it doesn't hurt to start by, okay, so we confirm level, so it doesn't hurt to start by dropping a really high anchor and then seeing what they say and then introducing the Microsoft offer. It's really up to you. If you know the Microsoft offer is going to be way better, but the order of how you do things, just make sure that you're working with as much data up front as you can, but having a competing offer is obviously always a good thing. Okay. How can your program help mechanical engineers transition to the tech industry from traditional manufacturing industry? Been trying to switch jobs from Southeast Coast to SoCal area. Well, I say that, I mean, I appreciate you sharing, but the location is going to be less relevant. My program, if we're talking about the course, remember, for anybody, there's only three things you need to do well in an interview. I'm going to go really basic here. Obviously, you want to have all the good things, good eye contact, good body language, good positivity, all the body stuff. But when it comes to your answers, it's only three things. It's structure, how you organize the information within that structure, and then what's the level of detail you're providing. Those are the only three things that matter. And again, that's what the course does. It helps you outline those items. I hope that helps. Hi, Jeff. I was wondering if there are any TPMs positioning that's opening soon. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are. I don't know because I don't work there. So I can't really tell you on position openings. Are there going to be TPM positions open for the rest of this year? Absolutely. It's going to be limited, though. Can you be a little brief about Microsoft campus recruiting? They sent me an invitation link to update my profile after applying to the website. No idea what is next. So you ask, right? And so typically with campus recruiting, when we're talking about campus recruiting, I don't know the type of role. If it's engineering, then you would have to have those engineering skills, or any domain, you'd have to have those domain skills. Typically, campus interviews do lean a little bit more behavioral, but we got to go to the source. And remember, a lot of times, we're getting into the end of this year, and like as we hit February of next year, I'll have been gone from Google for 5 years. Right. And so I always recommend recruiter, hiring manager, sourcer, recruiting coordinator, whoever you can get in touch with, they're going to be the source of truth for you. I hope that helps. RC is indirectly blaming slowdown, freeze, and all. Can it be true? What do you suggest should be negotiation strategy for me? Oh, I need more data. I need more background. I don't know if we lost comments in there, but I don't know what the context is. So it'd be helpful to get a little bit more context, please. Thanks. An interview coming up for Gtech. There's no product mention, and I suppose the rounds are mainly 3 behavioral rounds. I have interviewer's name and position. Is it good to learn about the product interviewer's expertise? Okay, so let's talk about this. So for Gtech is embedded within the organization. And so what that means is Gtech makes parts of the organization run better processes, strategy, etc. So Gtech's cool. It's fun and they have cool videos on it, but it's just like getting embedded into these divisions, ladders, whatever you want to call them at Google. So the 3 rounds will not mainly be behavioral. So remember, for this type of role, typically, now we got to ask our recruiter this question, but typically you're going to have 3 interviews that are going to be a general cognitive ability, googliness and leadership, and an RRK. You could absolutely get more than 50% of those questions could be hypothetical or open-ended. A lot depends on the interviewer. So should we learn about our interviewers if we get data on them? Absolutely. But don't overdo it. We gotta focus in on ourselves. If we're so fixated and focused in on who's interviewing us, it will throw us off our game. So once you stay on your game as much as possible. Also, interviewers oftentimes get replaced last minute. So you might have prepped for one person, then last minute somebody gets changed out and they're like, hey, we're gonna switch up your interviewer. And now that frazzles you, it gets you off your game. So again, I want you to look, but I don't want you to put too much emphasis. When it comes to prepping for the open-ended side, for Gtech, or for any generic role, have assumptions built around maps or search or GCP. Go more thinking about the broader suite of their product areas. Here's the lost message. Thanks. Okay. What would be a good anchor for remote L5 Chrome extensions? Developer relations engineer in Nashville. Is a dev role the same as SWE or a lower percentage? DevRel definitely pays less. Think about 80% of SWEs. So look at L5 software engineers in like the Atlanta market, for example. I hope that helps. L3 technical writer roles for their platforms team location. That location would really help me tell you whether that 120 and 110 in equity was strong. Really sorry to hear that. Obviously, this is happening to a lot of people, so just hang in there. I know you've shown up on a lot of the lives, so I'm sorry to hear that. Keep trying, keep that relationship with your recruiter as much as you can. I didn't mention that GCP is being reprioritized in India. The only piece of India data that I got recently was that L5 and below UX roles were being deprioritized or not prioritized. And again, that's a blanket statement. Will they have openings on a one-off basis? Yeah. The one piece of feedback I have gotten from especially the Slack community and those coming in the Slack community from India is that GCP is moving even slower there. That's the only piece of data I have, though. Yeah, absolutely. Sundar versus TK thoughts. Well, all right. On my limited data, I've never interacted with either of them. Okay, so I want to keep that in mind. I like Sundar. I've always liked him. I think the messaging that he's giving, I think he's very straightforward. I think he's honest. I think he's smart. I think he's in that role for a reason, period. The TK stuff, there's just been a ton of bad press on TK. So I don't know. There's a reason why a lot of the executive leadership of GCP left. TK came from a very rigid environment. So to go from a rigid environment and come into a Google environment, it's very different. I think he's ruffled a lot of feathers. That's only from the data I see online, and we all know that that can be extremely biased. So that's all I can say about those two. But great question. Hi, Jeff. Thanks as usual for the vids. Can you provide any insight on your experience, current market, on how long these Google freezes might take? Does 23 Q1 seem realistic? So they are hiring right now. They are going to be more selective for their hiring for the foreseeable future. I think that we still haven't seen some of the impact of what's going on in our world, from the war with Russia and Ukraine to everything that's happening in China, to the floods in Pakistan, to everything that's happening in the US economy, what you see happening in the UK, some of these really, really big markets. There's a lot of unknowns. And I think over the next 3 months, 6 months, we'll have a clearer picture. But right now, I don't see the hiring ramping up significantly in Q1. I'd love to see that, but I don't see that happening. Thanks for doing these sessions. My questions about your course: what is the type of material? Videos, PDFs, audio recordings? Do you recommend taking this course before doing one-on-one sessions? So on the YouTube channel, I do 5 intro videos. If you scroll on the YouTube channel all the way down, I did 5 quick, like 2 to 3 minute videos on the course. It's videos over a presentation. I use Loom, and there's over 50 exercises. So it's exercises driven. You got to put in the work. Do I recommend doing the course first? Absolutely, before one-on-one. You get more value out of the one-on-ones if you take the course first. Not everybody has time for that. So it's really up to you. Also, some people really like self-study, as opposed to other people, really like to get that one-on-one interaction. So a lot of that's personal as well. Someone in the Slack group just posted, and I would like to know, my recruiter told me that there are no sign-on bonuses being offered for GCP TAMs. This particular role is L4 based in Warsaw, Poland. Is this normal? Your recruiter just can't say that to you. There's always unique scenarios, always. And so let's go into the third Jeff story of the day. I hope people are appreciating the stories. They're kind of fun. So when I was going from a TVC to FTE at Google, uh, I negotiated for a sign-on bonus. And they told me that TVCs going to FTEs were never offered sign-on bonuses. And I said, that's incorrect. I actually offered a TVC going to FTE a sign-on bonus. Don't tell me you can't give me one. And guess what? They did. Now, I didn't take that sign-on because I got offered more equity, but that story actually happened. Recruiters cannot make blanket statements like this. There are always unique scenarios. It's not like we're not going to do anything for X person ever. It's just not the way the organization is set up. It's not that rigid. And that lack of rigidity can be good, and as we've seen, it can be bad too. But when they make these kinds of statements, it's brutal. And we always, again, in the recruiter surveys, just need to provide this feedback that they're just providing false information, and it's just terrible. Okay, at the 30s, we're going to do a quick prompt. Cool. COOL, just today till 11:59 Pacific time. Great opportunity to get our interview mastery course for $100 off. I do one-on-one practice interviews. I do one-on-one negotiation coaching as well. Clients are getting a ton of extra money through that negotiation coaching. If you like what we're doing today, smash that like button. And if you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. All right, let's get back to it. In this tumultuous time of hiring, I want to say thank you, Jeff, for your support, knowledge, content, and Slack community. Thanks, Shane. Really appreciate that. Again, we can come in with questions, gratitude, information. Everything is just helpful. Remember, this is a community-based platform, so the goal is to hold up and help the community. Thanks for that, Shane. Hi, Jeff. Could you tell me how long the Google interview process is valid, please? Is time counted down from the first or last interview? CE L4 Brazil role. Yeah, I think maybe you were here last week. It's usually, that's actually a great question. It usually should be from the time of your last interview completed, because that's that becomes outside of your control. So interviews are completed, so the clock should start on that date. I don't think it's 100% rigid on the 1 year thing. Usually they're not going to be so rigid on that, but it should be under a year. Yeah. Okay, so we answered that question. No question. Just want to say thank you for all the good you do in this world, your content and live streams. Thanks so much. I appreciate that, Greg. What is the best way to make your resume more attractive for recruiters if you're trying to get relocated to another company, assuming you already have work permission for target company? Okay. If you have some sort of established sponsorship or anything else in place, that I want that to be at the absolute top of your resume. So you would just put your name, obviously your current location, your email, LinkedIn, phone number, and then you would say valid sponsorship for X country or valid specific type of sponsorship. So it's right at the top so they know that they can consider you. They should see that right away. And then you can build the resume with a good summary, good experience, education, and then a technical summary if applicable. Remember, the biggest thing with resumes to remember, we don't talk a lot about this, it's two things. The creative resume, unless you're going for a creative resume, don't do it. I want your resume to be straight up boring. Okay. In most countries, and again, depends on the country, but in most countries, especially in the US, right, we learned since we were children to read left to right. So if I have all this information on the left and then it's bucketed, it doesn't work well. Also, that can mess with ATS systems. A lot of ATS systems will use, a little bit of machine learning to kind of parse through the data, and all those buckets can mess with their ability to identify you as the right candidate. So boring resume, and just put that sponsorship piece right at the top. I hope that helps. In general, does Google offer a sign-on bonus? My recruiter told me In general, I don't know, like of my negotiation clients, I would say more than 50% of them get a sign-on bonus. It's really a case-by-case basis. But if you really push and negotiate for it, yeah, typically you can get it. Okay. So no reason to repeat questions. I'll get to all of them. Looks like GCP CE roles in India are moving. Okay, awesome. Customer engineering, partner engineering role was eliminated a few hours ago. Total number of CE roles were 11 for the last 7 to 8 weeks, and now it's 10. All right, if you guys want to get great data on Google's hiring trends, Rahul as crushes it in our Slack community. Go to practiceinterviews.com, join our Slack community. It is 100% free. And the community is holding each other up, especially during these tough times. So strongly recommend it. Okay. Thanks for that data. I really appreciate it. Finally got an offer for Google for an abuse analyst role at YouTube L4, remote, based out of Seattle, 135K base, 15%, and 175 equity. A good enough offer. L4, Seattle, 135, 175, which means 60, so 195 in the low twos. Yep, that's good, but I would still, this is with a competing offer from Amazon. Recruiter says it's the highest they can go in terms of base and equity. Is that true? This looks like a pretty good offer. Seattle, L4. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't always go back one more time and say, we are so close. If you can just get that base up to 140, I'd be willing to accept. If you can just get the equity up to 195K, I'd be willing to accept. The last negotiation, when they say best and final, just push for a little bit more. What's the worst case scenario of that 15-second ask? They say no. Do it with graciousness and kindness. Thank you so much. I've heard you. I've heard that we cannot go any further. We are so close. If you can just get the equity to 195K, I will sign the offer. Pause. See what they say, and then if they're like, no, can you please go back and advocate for me one more time? No, okay, give me another day to think about it and I'll get back to you. But we always want to push that last time. Just push a little bit, because best and final, I found that oftentimes we can get more. Absolutely love the content on YouTube. Awesome. It's been super helpful. Speaking with a recruiter for GCP sales job, do recruiters ever say that you would be a great fit after initial conversations when in fact they don't want to move forward with you? I'm politely, kindly following up and have had radio silence since now. I mean, maybe, but it doesn't benefit them to say, hey, you're this great fit, you're awesome. Like, I'm only telling you that if I truly believe it. If I don't think you're a great fit, I say, like, we have a lot of candidates in process. I'll let you know. So I would give you different messaging. Okay, you have an interview for Gtech users for product for solution consulting coming up with 3 rounds of interviews. Not sure how you should prepare for the technical perspective or behavior. Okay, so it's a big question, right? Now, for the technical perspective, you're really going to want to, you're just going to want to think about more generic technical solutioning. On the behavioral side, you just got to really work your best examples, and that takes time. That just takes time, okay? Obviously, I have a lot of content on all things behavioral, lots of open-ended stuff, so I'm not really sure where to guide you, but if you have additional questions, let me know. Thanks for all the help. Your process got stopped due to the freeze and slow hiring. Do you think I will be considered again after the freeze is over? I don't know. Yeah, I can't tell you. But if you have some good interview feedback, that would be the question asked your recruiter. And also, what's the cadence? Can I check in with you once a month, once a quarter, etc.? Thanks for your video. What should I expect from a code review at G as an EM? Okay. So I think what we're talking about is code review at Google for an engineering manager, not an engineer. So my best guess is, and from what I've seen from my eng managers, and I work with a lot of eng managers, but we obviously work with the soft skills, right? So they expect you to be good at coding. as an engineering manager. They expect you to be able to get hands-on if you need to. So if you need to go back and take a step back and work on some of those fundamentals, that would be my strong recommendation. Cleared all the interviews for Hershey. Okay. However, recruiter stopped responding after a week of confirmation. Did a follow-up with no luck. How long should I wait before I follow up again? When we don't hear back from recruiters, it's once a week. How's it going? Just wanted to check in again. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I look forward to hearing back from you. And again, and again, and again. And we will, let's call this what it is. I want to mentally drive my recruiter crazy. If they're incapable of responding to me, I am going to follow up consistently week after week after week and be gracious and kind. It's not like they don't see those emails. They can choose to ignore them, but they see them. And each one is like a poke at them, like, you're not doing your job. You're not doing your job. We're only a week out. So once a week, follow up. And then obviously if it gets to be like a month and you haven't heard anything, you got to go around them. Try and touch base with a recruiting coordinator, a sourcer, any interviewers, any people you know at the company. That's the only other path I can recommend. Okay, so maybe answered that one. Any movement or updates with regards to your clients in GCP? Well, I'm still actively coaching GCP every week. I get GCP clients every week, so that hasn't stopped. Surprisingly, this week, I've been seeing a bunch more CE clients coming my way, which surprises me a little bit. I have multiple CE candidates in the negotiation phase that were like pre the freeze, and one architect, and only one of those is moving forward as of right now. I hope that helps. Thanks for the help. My process got stopped due to the freeze. Okay. So again, that's a repeated question. We're getting a lot of repeat questions today. I'll get to everything, so there's really just no reason to repeat. You always can check in with your recruiter. The best thing to do is going to be the cadence. How often is it okay to check in with you? Once a month, once every 2 months, once a quarter? Just get that cadence, because if you get that permission from them, it makes things a lot easier. Let's just see the second part. Hinted that my profile is a good. Okay, good. One more question. Is it worth my upcoming discussion with my recruiter to bring up the other product roles outside of GCP? You found a few in ads and other teams that might be good fits for me. Less is more. Okay, if we continue to throw the kitchen sink at our recruiters, we're just going to mentally shut down. So what do I mean by that? Identify 1 to 2 positions that you think are a really strong fit. Put the link in an email, write out 3 to 5 bullets for why you're a fit, give them your availability, and then when you have that discussion with the recruiter, say, hey, I have positions identified, I have bullets with them, I have my availability for the upcoming weeks after our conversation today. Can I share that with you? That's my recommendation. Microsoft Campus engineering role. I have no source or recruiter in touch. Should I connect via LinkedIn with random recruiters? You can try. I do not believe they'll respond to you. Nobody gets hit up more than university recruiters, period. You can try, but expectations for campus engineering role is you've got to be able to code, and I would definitely work on your behavioral examples. Okay, 2 big pieces. Hey, Jeff, just wanted to say you're awesome and keep inspiring. Thanks for that. I really, really appreciate it. All right, David, L3, but I still don't know the location. So in order for me to help with any salary or comp, there's 3 pieces of data I need. I need the role, I need the location, and I need the level. That's where I can really just be the most helpful. Without one of those pieces of data, I'm not helpful, because that's all they look at. They don't look at interview performance or any of these other things. They just look at role, level, and location. Assume they agreed to start the process after that. Okay, so again, we're getting a lot. I don't know what's happening here with this comment. I cannot, not really sure why this keeps coming in, and now it's coming in under a different name. If if they're blaming the freeze and the slowdown, they're blaming the slowdown on the freeze. Yeah, everybody's getting slow because of the freeze. I don't know how we negotiate when we don't have anything to negotiate on. Okay, so I hope that's answering the question. Is it common for a G candidate to have just one team match call with the HM and team if it's successful, or are candidates always expected to have multiple team match calls? So let's talk about this. Sometimes, like, it's just like anything in life. Like, you meet your future significant other, or you meet a future friend or a person you always want to engage and interact with, and you just hit it off the first time. That obviously happens in the team match stage too. Sometimes people get that initial team match fit, they're ready to move forward. Some want to talk to other teams. Here's what I strongly encourage for the team match, and not everybody's going to love this advice, but if you match to a team now, take the job. Like, the likelihood that multiple team matches are going to come your way in the next 3 to 6 months, it's just very, very unlikely. It doesn't mean that I want you to close doors for you, but I just want to, I'm a percentages person. I'm a data person. There's not going to be a ton of team matches. If they like you and you like them, do it. Don't wonder what else is out there, because it's not going to really help. Okay. I hope that's helpful. L3 tech writer, Sunnyvale, 120, 110, 15K yearly bonus. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a good offer, because even if we're putting 33% of that 110, so we're at a 15% bonus, call that 20K, so 140. So you're at 170 plus K in year one. I mean, that's pretty good for an L3 tech writer. I don't think you left too much on the table. Maybe there was a tiny bit in equity, maybe a tiny bit on base. Maybe you could have gotten the base to 122 or 125. Maybe the equity could have gotten to 130, but you didn't leave much on the table. That's a good L3 tech writer offer, I think. I passed the virtual on-site interview for a TPM role. Then the freeze happened and my recruiter left for maternity leave until April of 2023. She didn't tell me who would replace her while she's out. What's best to do if I see some TPM openings that I want to apply? How can I connect with another recruiter? So you passed the virtual on-site interview for a TPM role, which means you came across somebody else in the process, a sourcer, a recruiting coordinator, and even an interviewer that you could connect with on LinkedIn. You got to go around them. There is absolutely, I cannot imagine in any world why there wouldn't be a maternity at an office with a new point of contact. Like, that blows my mind that still happens. Like, that is such a simple process step. And I think this audience and this community, like, I'm trying to keep it real. Like, this stuff isn't hard. Systems and processes are not hard. And the reason why all these big tech companies don't implement some simple processes and systems for this stuff is just unbelievable. Before anybody goes out on a vacation for a week or longer, goes on maternity leave, goes on medical leave, like, this should be a checks and balances, a check and balance that the hiring manager has to perform, that their lead has to perform, to say, is your out of office? Have we made sure that Jane is set up for success with all your candidates, et cetera, et cetera? Like, the fact that there are no checks and balances on that is so unacceptable. I'm really sorry, Anna. You're going to have to go around them and find somebody else. Okay, so again, I'm not going to answer any more of these questions. We've asked this question so many times. So please just understand, the recruiter is going to blame the freeze on the slowdown. Yep. And negotiation strategy. I don't know how you negotiate something that you're not negotiating on. Doesn't sound like there's a position. If there's another question, please ask another question, please. Thanks, Alberto. I hope you're doing well as well. Thanks, but can you elaborate further? Nope, I cannot. I do not work at Microsoft. I do not know what it looks like. I cannot mention the timeline. Microsoft has also had some slowing in hiring, so what campus hiring is going to look like, I don't have answers to any of those questions. So teamblind.com, try teamblind.com. They might have some information for you there. If I join as a remote YouTube employee, do I still get to go to Google offices? I'm really hoping to meet people and build relationships in the office, even if it's not my team. Do I need any approvals? Yeah, so you can be remote and still go to the offices, but I think that the way that they've done it, from what my friends have told me, is that they don't want, if you go fully remote, you can't just be showing up to the offices. Like you will need to get approval first, but then once you get that approval, I think it's okay. You're going to need to double check. I do know that for full-time remote employees, they don't want you going into the office typically, but can you do it? Of course. Yeah. So I would just get the right approvals. I just changed jobs to a major consultancy company based in India. Did I make a mistake by doing this move in this market climate? No, no. I mean, look, some of these companies are going to do layoffs and it's going to be first in, first out, but it's not that typical. And if you were excited, there were reasons why you got excited about that role. You decided to join that company. So, yeah, I want you to think about it positively and just get in there and crush it. Okay. Yeah, if you just go to practiceinterviews.com, Slack community is up in that top banner and you can join there. You're welcome. Thanks for videos. Applying to an EM role at Google. Already cleared a number of interviews, but HC requested an additional code review. Is that a good sign? What should you pay attention to? Got to ask your recruiter, what did I miss? Can you give me any additional data? It's not a good sign. It's not a good sign. I mean, it means that some data was missing from that code review. It's not a bad sign. If you had blown it, they wouldn't be giving you another opportunity. So what does it mean? It means there was enough good data to say, okay, this is somebody we want to hire, but we need to get a little bit more confirmation, specifically on the code review piece. Reflect back to the last interview. What went well? What didn't go well in that code review? And then just poke your recruiter, see if you can get any data from them at all. My recruiter had me reschedule my interview due to some reason, but next week they stated that they have got enough candidates for the role and they can't take my application moving forward. Before rescheduling, I confirmed that it's not going to affect my chances. Does this happen a lot? This is awful. I am so sorry to hear that this happened. That's just totally unacceptable. They said it wouldn't impact your chances, then they should give you the opportunity to interview. And even if they have enough for this role, consider you for other roles. I'm really sorry to hear that happen. I do not hear this happening very often. Okay. So it's small percentage. Sorry. Love your content. Super helpful. Speaking with a recruiter for GC. Okay. Yeah. So we answered that question. If they say you're a good fit, they'll say it. Otherwise, I don't know why they would give you that BS. It's just a total waste of their time. Maybe they do, but I don't think it's likely. Thank you for the session. Super helpful. Okay, L5, software test engineer, Bay Area. What's the percentage? Test, like 0.8 of a SWE, so levels.fyi. Look at the last people who were hired for like roles as SWEs. 0.8, maybe 0.85, something like that. Test is not going to pay as much, but it will pay closer than some of the other roles. Maybe go 0.85, something like that. Yeah, any update on non-tech GCP roles? They're putting more positions online. So we've seen a little bit more of a trend towards some more non-tech GCP positions in the last few weeks. In the HC stage, and RC asked me for some details for the packet submissions 4 weeks back. After this, no update. How many times have you checked in? How many times? Like, check in once a week, keep pushing, say, I got all my HC information, I haven't heard back from you, I'm still excited, enthusiastic about the role. And then again, if you do that a couple more times and you don't hear back, you're going to have to go around them. Because that, like, at this point, you're in the HC stage, you're asked for additional details, and then they go dark on you. I mean, that is just so unbelievably unacceptable. I never know what to do with that information, quite honestly. I'm sorry to hear that. Keep pushing. Okay, sorry, I answered that question. My L4 SD interviews were completed and the feedback overall was positive, as I mentioned by the recruiter. Had one HM call, and the recruiter had mentioned he is looking for open positions in other teams. Haven't heard back in 4 weeks. Is the hiring freeze for L4 still in effect? L4 SD, yeah. There's been some freezing for those positions. Follow up again. Again, I just, if this community could see like what the information looks like, and I know a lot of this community, you're not recruiters, right? But you've probably used some sort of CRM or database or something that keeps information for your job. It's the same thing for recruiters. So Jane, Bob, Sue, Tom, whatever my list of active candidates that are actively in the process, I have a list of those candidates. I can sort those candidates in order and simply reach out to them once a week, twice a week. It's so easy. These mistakes that these recruiters are making are so easy to overcome. And that's why you see my massive frustration, because not only was I able to do this every week, all the time, I trained people, over 500 people or however many people, on how to do it. And the fact that it's not happening is just, it's so unbelievable. It's so easy. These recruiters can never come in and have an excuse. At one point I had probably 100 active software engineer candidates at one time. I could always get back to all of them on a weekly basis. It's just not hard. No response needed, but I'm here to respond. Your concise candor and drive. I'm not a coder, but I have a long run with great tech and other big companies. Your career interview advice is second to none. Thanks, Lindsay. I appreciate that. I'm here to help, and I hope that it's helpful. And I think that I think people know of me as to be pretty positive, but I mean, I'm feeling some of the frustrations, the freezes, and of course, I'm just like everybody else. I mean, of course, these freezes have massively impacted my business. I mean, like, let's call it what it is. When companies slow down hiring, I don't have as many clients, period, right? It's really that simple. But just the poor communication that's been happening, especially from Google, especially from their recruiters, it's really sad. Okay. I think this is going to be a little bit of more of a clear question. Says, during the offer discussion, recruiter says budget is 50% of my total comp expectations given per levels.fi. Okay. I assume they agree to start the process after that. Okay. What do you suggest for the negotiation salary for me? You just got to keep pushing. You got to say, look, this is based on research and data. This is my expectation. Please advocate for me. Please take my expectations back to the comp team. Just see what they can do. Push back. Just make sure you're being gracious and kind. Was interviewed for an SAP app Eng role. RC informed me that the feedback was positive, but couldn't go to HC because of the hiring freeze. I see the same role still open in the portal. Contacted my recruiter again, but no response. Contact them again. Graciousness and kindness. Okay, keep contacting them. Still see the position up. I'm still enthusiastic. I'm still excited. Keep pushing. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Can you talk about Google's industry solutions team? I heard they're growing big. What skill set is needed for that team? Industry solutions team. I'm not aware of that team. So I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. Sometimes I have a lot of data, but I don't have all of it. So I'm not as familiar with this industry solutions team. Sorry. Give a good anchor for an L4 customers engineer. Anchor L4 CE machine learning based in Sunnyvale. I mean, I would anchor pretty high for that role. High threes, like 390s. You could anchor into the fours as well if you want to. Completed your GCA last Friday. Haven't heard back. How long should I wait? If you haven't heard back, late tomorrow, early Friday, follow up. 95% of us are watching, but 18 likes. Smash that like button. Thank you. If you like what we're doing today, smash that like button. If you've never subscribed, consider subscribing. I go live 10 a.m. Pacific every single Wednesday. I'm pretty much planning on rolling through the rest of this year, and then the last 2 or 3 weeks of December, I'll take off. And we're going to hit the 100 lives in January of next year, January or early Feb of next year. And I'm going to do some sort of special offer during that. It's going to be pretty epic. So I'm pretty excited. I know we're getting close. I think this is the 86th, 87th live that I've done today. The like button, smash it if you like. And just a quick prompt, practiceinterviews.com. We do negotiation coaching. We do one-on-one interview coaching. Cool, COOL. If you buy the interview mastery course today, special opportunity to get $100 off that course just till 11:59 Pacific time today. We have a Slack community. It's free. We have 9 killer free resources on practiceinterviews.com. And obviously, I'm getting close to 300 videos on YouTube. So hopefully that content still is helping everybody out as well. Jeff, are you still firm on your kind of opinion that the factor for CE compensation is 95 to 1 of a suite? Yeah. I mean, that's what my data shows me. Now, remember, my data is a tiny bit skewed because I know how to negotiate and how to coach clients on how to negotiate, but definitely getting, even at the low end, 90%. Why? Because that sales incentive is 42.86%. The base is going to be lower. The equity grants are still coming in high. So CEs are definitely getting paid very, very close to what a suite gets paid. Okay, Industry Solutions Manager, L4, Dallas. Well, since it's Industry Solutions, right, which is it's going to be less technical, L4, Dallas. I mean, anything like I would try to hit, into the 220s, 230s in year one. And so I'd probably be anchoring in the very, very high 280s or 290s. Thank you so much for answering the questions. Appreciate how gracious and kind you are. Yeah, I mean, I love this community, right? Like, I think it's cool. Like, it's so crazy. We're next month, October will be 4 years on YouTube, which is just crazy. And I'll tell you, for anybody who wants to put any kind of information out there on YouTube, and by the way, I strongly recommend this, even if it's like a pet project or just a hobby, the best way to get an audience is consistency. Right. And that's all I've kind of done for 4 years is just show up. I wish I had started these lives a lot sooner. I don't know that I felt like I had the total confidence to do it. But now, obviously, doing it a lot, I enjoy it. It's fun. Thanks for that. Okay. So anchor for base salary for GCP L6 manager role in India. Yeah. So I'm not going to be able to give you a good number on that. GCP L6 manager, I don't know what kind of manager we're talking about. Maybe you can tell me more about the manager specifically. Another data point from the Slack community member, last induction batches for Google in December will be on the 12th and the 19th. Thanks, Rahul. Rahul is our data guru on the Slack community. And if you want to find out unbelievable information on Google hiring trends and all that stuff, he's killing it. It's awesome. For general information and the process, appreciated efforts. Thanks. Who will you usually talk to during team match calls? For a BSA position, application engineer position, will he or she be a TPM or someone else? For the team match call, you're talking directly to the hiring manager, always. Sometimes you'll talk to them and they'll want you to talk to their team members, or there'll be an additional step that they throw in. They'll want you to talk to their director or whatever, but team match calls are always with the hiring manager. Applied for 3G roles, L3, L4 suite last week with referral. 3 are in US, Canada, and Switzerland. US and Canada roles responded with rejection. No response from Switzerland role, I'm assuming Zurich. Why would they reject me even without an interview? Your CV's good. Can't tell you your chances for Switzerland. Maybe they were looking for something very specific. I just can't tell you why they would reject you. I don't know. The deal with the situation like that moving forward. So your situation was you asked for more time, and when you came back, they said, hey, we had filled all the positions, right? So, or we have enough candidates in process. In the future, you're going to overcome this situation by hopefully not needing to ask for more time. That's not a great answer. you could in the future, if you get into that scenario again, say, I was in a case before where I asked for more time and then I didn't actually get to interview. So I just want to triple confirm, double confirm that I'm okay if I need to push out. But maybe it's just a good indication that you shouldn't push out next time, even though, like, again, that's very easy for me to say. I know that the prep and practice time is significant. Finished interview for an L4 CE at GCP. Currently, you're working as an L5 cloud architect consultant at AWS. Is it safe to switch with the current market freeze and down level? It's not a down level. AWS 5 is GCP 4. And I can almost guarantee, not 100%, that your comp's going to go way up. So it's not a down level. I think it's a good move to do right now. Personally, I don't see it as very risky. Thanks for sharing your TVC to FTE experience. What advice would you give to someone that's going down a similar path? How were you able to get in before the end of your contract? Okay, so really, really briefly, I was in a very unique scenario. So I'll give the background because it's a fun story. Today is kind of like story day, and so if you guys want to hang out for it, I appreciate it. So when I first joined Google, the day one that I walked in, I was basically told by everybody, like, hey, you'll never be converted. This will be a year contract, and then you'll be done. So, okay, all right. They weren't converting any TVCs to FTEs when I first started. 2 months in, that changed. They decided that they wanted to start converting TVCs to FTEs. I was on a team that lost a lot of people. It was basically my buddy Jay and I, who's still there, who's been crushing it at Google for like 9 years or so now. And we had to pick up the slack for the program management team. And I mean, we really picked up the slack. We were handling like 30 or 40 recs at a time. He hired 15 people in a quarter. I hired 15 people in a quarter. And a lot of that was just sheer volume and working our butts off and all that stuff. So I actually got asked for my resume just 4 months into a 1-year contract. And then I started full time within like basically 6.5 months, 7 months. So I was in the perfect storm. I got really lucky and fortunate that the timing was good to convert, that I had to pick up the slack, that I was able to do a really good job. And obviously I was always a pretty good interviewer in general. I would be horrified to see those interviews now. I just can't even imagine knowing what I know now, but that's kind of how the path happened for me. So I got very lucky. And at that time, I don't know exactly what the path is for recruiters. 2 interviews. We had a GCA interview and then like a fit. It was more of what they called like a fit interview. I think the process might be a little different now. Agree with poor conversation getting back, as I told you. Okay, so I'm not sure what that first part was. As I told you, I followed up 9 months ago. Anyways, don't worry, Jeff. We love you and one-on-one with you soon. And lastly, thumbnails. I'm not sure about that first part. You followed up for 9 months. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you too. And I'm trying on these thumbnails. I don't know what's happening. I think I decided if anybody who's watching in this community watches my old thumbnails, they were so boring for so long that I flipped all the way to the other side to make them pretty obnoxious and crazy. But they were so boring for 2.5 years that now I just like to have more fun with them. And it makes it more fun for me as well. Big thank you for everything, Jeff. Your content helped me tremendously with your interview prep. These lives got me through the freeze. You finally have an offer, and so much is because of you. And of course, congrats. That's amazing. Remember, it's all the hard work and effort and practice that you put into it. I'm just here to provide a little bit of guidance, but thank you so much for letting us know. It is possible. They are moving forward with positions. All these companies, it's just taken a while. Would you connect on LinkedIn with hiring managers and recruiters to roles that did not work out at Non-FAANG? I would. My strategy for connecting with people on LinkedIn is a give first model. I don't think it's great to connect with recruiters on LinkedIn. It's just, if you could see what it looks like, and even for me now, what it looks like on my end of things, and the type of communication that comes in. But for hiring managers, it might be, hey, Sue, I came across your profile, love your background. I found this really cool article on machine learning that I just wanted to share with you. I thought it was relevant to your role. Looking forward to connecting. And that's it. And just send them an article. And then if they connect, don't do anything with it. Then maybe you send them an article 2 months later. Like, you really got to track and manage this. But hiring managers are a much better connection than recruiters. But yeah, I obviously recommend building and networking, especially on LinkedIn, because it's a monopoly. That's the one source we have. Can you break down the components of an offer? Why does target bonus get added when that isn't direct compensation? I thought it was base and sign-on bonus, but not target bonus. To confirm, is there a difference between target bonus and sign-on bonus? Yeah, okay, these are great questions. So not at all companies, but at Google, this is the reason why they build bonus into the actual numbers, is because the bonus is 95% viable at that number or greater. Let me provide some data here. So let's go L3, L4, L5. Target 15% bonus. If you meet expectations or higher, you are going to get a minimum of a 15% bonus. Even at meeting, you could get 16%, 17%. So it's pretty much guaranteed. Now, there's 5% of the organization that will fall in the needs improvement category. And that means that you will get less than 15%, but it's still like 12 or 13%. They're not going to just totally not give you a bonus. So you'll still get most of the bonus, but 95% of the company will get at least that number. And that's why they build it in, and it's viable. So that bonus is just your yearly bonus, and then a sign-on bonus is just a one-time bonus. Now, for like Amazon, they do 1 and 2 year sign-ons and no regular bonus. And then at Google, sometimes you can get a year 1 and year 2 sign-on, but it's very, very uncommon. You got a follow-up email from the recruiter on the 4th of August, but still no response for an interview. What should you do? It's a Google position. Yeah, I mean, all you can do is continue to follow up with them and be gracious and kind. But if this is like pre-interview, about your interview. Okay. If you have any other point of contact, sourcer, recruiting coordinator, interviewer, if you can go around them at this point, it's been almost 2 months, you got to go around them. And remember, the biggest thing for anybody watching right now, if you go into any phase of the interview process, okay, so any phase of that interview process, from phone interview to on-site, virtual on-site, you will get a survey when your application is closed. Check your junk mail. Make sure that doesn't end up in the junk mail. I hear that happening often. But any bad things that happen, these recruiters need to feel the pain. I did not hear back from my recruiter for 2 months, and now I'm getting this survey. What's going on? So something like really, really specific like that. There's really nothing else you can do besides try to go around them. I'm really sorry. This unfortunately does happen more often than it should. Got a data point from Fishbowl app for 2023 planning. Marketing is told to cut 30%. Eng is going to be hiring 10 to 15% more. Cloud is flat like 2022. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think anytime we can get data, let's just throw that data out there. I mean, marketing to cut by 30%. I mean, maybe 30% of their yearly anticipated hiring. I don't think they'd cut 30% of people in marketing. Eng is always going to be hiring, and then GCP staying flat. That sounds pretty consistent with the messaging we've seen. Thank you. Does it make sense to apply 2 analytical lead roles, add in sales team, 1 retail, other travel? JD is similar. Domain is different. Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're getting strong alignment from your career for those types of positions. Yeah, absolutely. Apply both. It's not like you're applying to 15, 20 positions. You can't anyway. It's just apply to those 2, maybe find 1 more. You can apply to 3 roles at a time. Okay, short live session today. I'm going to go into my wrap-up mode, as always. If any additional questions come in, I'll take any additional questions that come in. Last pitch on the course. Cool, COOL. If you put that in, it's $100 discount. It is just today, just till 11:59 Pacific time today. one-on-one interview coaching, one-on-one negotiation coaching. Obviously, tons of YouTube content, as you know. We got our Slack community, which I strongly recommend. It's free. There's tons of data in there. The community is holding each other up. Tons of free resources on the website, etc. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. I will be back next week, and there'll be a new video next week and a new live next week. Thanks so much. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everybody. Take care.